Hey, what's up, guys? This is gonna be week two, and obviously not the way I wanted to start. The honest truth is, I I sized up way too much. I way too greedy. You start going into these 4 hour charts. Um, really, I'm not trying to get into arguments with people, but for me, I really am bullish. I know that we just took a huge hit in the market, and we're way down from the highs. But for me, I really think that give us a couple months. I really think that we're going to be like you know off to the races kind of thing. That's just my personal opinion. You don't have to agree with me. You think I'm an idiot. That's completely fine. But where I screwed up is I allowed my bias to dictate my trades, and I started to you know I started getting greedy because you started looking at this 4 hour chart, for instance. This thing went from 57.71 down to 55 6. That's 200 points. 200 points. I started thinking about, holy crap, like I could have, I could have used, with my account size, I'm allowed to use up to two full contracts. So using a micro, that'd be 20 contracts. And for each micro contract, it's $5 per point. So I mean, you start doing the math on that. I was like, holy crap, man! I could have used 20 contracts. So if I'm using 20 contracts for every dollar, it's X amount of money times that by 200. Like, my brain started just going off into freaking like crackhead land, and I just spiraled out of control. If you look at my account, um, so I guess last week was one, two, three, four, five. So I ended last week down, or I mean, I guess slightly up on my account. But I wrecked it this last week. I took a max loss. Then I got really freaking lucky over here. So the platform started freezing up, and I was in a trade. I was in full size. I already made a little bit of a little bit of a buffer zone. I hadn't made a lot of money. I think that I made like $100 and something dollars. Yeah, $155. Cool, whatever. Yeah, so I made $155, and I'm in full size on this thing, and then all of a sudden the whole platform just froze, and I was like, oh my god, like I don't know what the hell happened. And then like all of a sudden it starts glitching out, and then it pops up like max loss. I was like, what the hell? Like I hit max loss. I had no idea what the hell happened. Well, shout out to Top Step because they were cool as shit. There was a lot of people that were super pissed off. Like I mean that it's a big deal. But what they did is because their platform froze up, they took back all negative trades between like 9:30 and 9:55, and so because of that, they took back the max loss. So like in my opinion, I got a really good, like, I got lucky. I mean, I'd already made the 155, so I mean, like, that wasn't luck, but, they could have just been like, hey, but, like, at the same time, like, there were people in the trade before the platform froze, so, like, you know, but anyways, I was smart enough to be like, okay, hey, I'm not gonna gamble with this because the other thing is I was using way too much freaking size, like, and you know I don't know what the hell happened, but at the same time, like, I should never, like, when you start going back to this, you don't need a lot of contracts to be making a ungodly amount of money, like, really. Yeah, and from where I'm looking at, if you go back to this, I had a high of like what, $1,200. Cool. why in the hell am I using so much size? And the reason is I'm not patient. I am the most impatient person I know, and I want to get back to making over those $1,000 days, and I'm trying to push myself to do that. And I think that my ego a little bit honestly is probably tied to my P&L, and I want to be I should be grateful for making these $200 $300 days, but I'm really having a hard time with it. That's me being honest. Like, it really is difficult for me. The one good thing is that even though I got my ass kicked, I passed. The thing I got, 5 winning days of $200 or more. So technically, I can pay myself. The shitty part about that is that I only have $14 in my account. I still have a max drawdown where I can go down to like 800. So like, I still have a buffer zone. And if I play this right, if I stop being greedy, I can absolutely just take off to the races. And like I said, I'm very bullish on the market, and I'm very bullish on myself. Like, I think that I just need to, I don't know, like, come back down to planet Earth a little bit. But the other thing I started screwing up on was, so these levels. If you guys have been watching my videos, I have a very simple way of trading. I'm very new to trading futures. I'm not super. I wouldn't say that I'm an expert in, well, anything either. Like, even small caps, I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I mean, I would say I'm good as a small cap trader, but now that I really am, and I can't remember if I said this in last week's, but like, if I didn't say it in last week's, I'm saying it this week. I am 100% going all in on futures. I or not accidentally, I actually liquidated my trading account. I found a company that is about to go public, and I decided to put a big chunk of my money into that company because I believe in it, and we'll see how that works out. It's my first time that I've ever invested in a company that's not public, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm not gonna mess around with small caps. I think that I really I know myself. I'm not very good at multitasking. I can be all over the place, and I think that with me working, I have my own community that I'm running. I have, quite a few traders I'm actually working with one-on-one, where I'm going over their trades. I'm doing, like a video like this. I'm walking through like, hey, I like this entry. I don't like this entry. You could have done this a little bit better. What are your thought process? But, I got a lot of stuff. On top of that, I have a family that needs me. And so I really feel like I need to just focus on one thing. And so for me, it's going to be futures because you know, it doesn't cost, like, it really doesn't cost anything in my opinion. Like, it's $50 a month for to pass the combine, but once you pass the combine, you don't have a monthly fee. Like, I'm a funded trader with TopStep, um, so you have to pay the $150 activation fee to get your account. And yeah, if I blow my account, then yeah, I gotta start all over. I gotta start all over, which is why I'm like, hey, dude, you need to like take a step back, even if it takes me a month to slowly rebuild this account. Okay, that's worth it, like, because I'm not paying anything right now. Like, there's no rush, But I really started screwing up because these levels, how I explain to my students is that's the ceiling, that's the floor, right? Why is that? Why is this the ceiling? Because it made a freaking giant ass move from right here. Like, somebody or a lot of people started selling a lot of their position at 55.65 and went all the way down to below 5,000. So I mean, that's a huge move on a 4-hour chart. So these purple lines are 4-hour levels. Once you blast through a level like this, like, then it turns into the floor, which is, like I said, imagine you're walking into a house, right? I don't know what kind of house you live in. I live in a 2-story house. So you walk in the entry floor, right? Cool. Well, the ceiling that's above me, that is my second floor. So once I, walk up the stairs, I'm upstairs. Well, what used to be the ceiling is now the floor. and now you found the real ceiling, right? So that's kind of the analogy that I teach my students. But how I'm supposed to do that is, what happens when you hit the floor? Well, hopefully it freaking holds you up, and you go up from the floor. Like you're not going to cave in. That's what I'm looking for. Is I'm looking for these floors to act as support and make price bounce higher. That's what I'm looking for. I'm also looking for, this has got a low, a higher low, a higher low, a higher low, a higher low. Like this is freaking A plus for me. Like this like when it's in the purple, I load the boat. Like if I see something, I've allowed myself, hey, you can go in with ungodly amount of size. And so I will load the freaking boat if I see the right thing. Now if I start getting into these blue areas, I need to start scaling in a little bit. And another thing I'm starting to do is because I'm getting super busy at work, and so I don't have a lot of time. So now I'm doing is I'm starting to drop down into the 15 minute, and I'm like, okay, well, because I have 15 minutes to trade, and so what I start doing is I start trying to find these 15-minute things, or these 15-minute levels, right? So if you have one contract, right? One contract, if it moves 20 points, which is $20, then that's $100. For every 20 points that one contract moves is $100, right? So if say you have, like I said, I can use up to 20 contracts, but really, like, I'm not even going to use that example because if I use 20 contracts, like honestly, I'm fucking retarded right now because I have $800 breathing room that's absolutely out of like you're out of your damn mind using that kind of size. Like unless I start scaling in, down here, like I said, this is A plus, right? So like, okay, say I get in 5 contracts, right there. Okay, like it rips up, makes a higher low, it starts going up again. Okay, get in 5 more contracts. It's like, I mean, that's 75. Like first off, like you don't need anything more. Like you don't fucking need anything more. You have 5 contracts, and this thing went from 4,900, dude, up to like it went up over 100 points. Like I said, for every 20 points, every $20, it's $100 for each contract. If you have 5 contracts, like that's ungodly amount of money. But like that's where the greed is really screwing with me, because my mind starts like, okay, well, I can use 20 contracts, and exactly like what you guys just probably saw. Like I went through that. I can feel that. I can feel that emotion being triggered just thinking about, like what if you just fucking loaded the boat right here with 20 contracts, and then it goes up, 100 points. Like holy shit, dude. Like you just made a ungodly amount of money. Yeah, that's great, cool. But at the same time, when you have this much volatility, you're an absolute idiot if you're just loading the boat with that much with the buffer zone that I have. Like it'd be completely different if I had $10,000 in this account. Yeah, sure, dude. Like go for it. Like I would have like a max loss of say $1,500. Yes, I would absolutely load the boat. 20 contracts right there. Don't give a shit. 100%. But that's not where I am right now. And even with these moves, like on a 15-minute, like I mean, look at this thing, right? So we're gonna take this example right here. This thing comes all the way down. It hits the zone, right? And this is at 7:45 in the morning. This thing has a bottom of 49.03. So let's just say 4,900. Just to make it easy, right? Cool. This thing went all the way up to, this thing went up $80, 80 points, right? And then stuffed. A stuff is where you have this long wick at the top. What that means is selling pressure. That means that the price went all the way up, and then somebody unloaded so much shares or contracts. I call it shares just because it makes it easier. You have these guys that are like, oh, they're contracts and making it all complicated and shit. It's contract share, whatever. They unloaded whatever contracts into the market that pushed the price all the way down to 26. Like, that's insane. That is a ton of money that just got dumped in the market and that made this thing slam all the way down. That's what I'm saying is, like, it's so volatile right now that, yeah, it's awesome when it works. It really is gonna suck when it doesn't. But, like, what I'm trying to tell myself and my students right now is, like, cool. Say you get in with 2 contracts right here at $4,900, right? Like I said, for every 20 points, it's $100. Well, that went up from here to there is $200, 400, 600. Top take to 800. Like, really, like, what the hell do you need more than that? But, like, when I start talking to one of my students, he's like, one of the things that he likes about me is that when he was watching YouTube, these guys are always talking about, like, oh yeah, man, I made $10,000 in a few minutes, and it screws with the greed thing. I've been trading for 7 years now. I'm still affected by that, and I don't think that's something that ever goes away. I just think it's human nature. Like, we always want more. We always are striving for more. But, like, it really kicked my ass because I'm using way too much size. I'm being way too freaking greedy. And honestly, on probably this could have been the best week of my entire career. But because I got greedy and I over leveraged, I had honestly a shitty week. Really, I mean, like I said, you start going back to this, my win rate dropped all the way down to 49%, which is shit. My average losing is almost the same as my average winning. You start scrolling down into this stuff. Let's see, and that this is another thing that I would like to touch base on. You see this and this and this and this. What that means is I didn't write any notes. But the funny thing is, you start looking at this, like, look at my net P&L. Max loss, little win, max loss. Okay, so on my max loss days, on the days that I should be writing notes, I should be reflecting a lot. I'm not reflecting. And, another thing is, like, look at this. Like, this is the P&L high. This is the highest point I was on the day. My first trade was, negative $282. That's way too much size. You start looking at this, I'm using 40 contracts. Like I said before, like, the market is so freaking volatile. Why in the hell would you be using that much size? Once again, highest P&L, negative. My first trade was a loss. But then look at how much size I started using. I started using a shit ton of size. On 6 trades, I used 90 contracts. On 2 trades, I used 40 contracts. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like that. Like, it's right there. It's right on the screen. It's telling me, hey, dude, like, this is not working out very well. My highest P&L on this day also was I just stayed negative, and then the max, my max loss. It's that's where it is. I think that going forward, thing that I need to do is size down a shit ton and just start being really grateful for these $200 days and stuff. So that's kind of where I'm going. This is my weekly recap, and I'll be back with a better week next week. Later, guys.